everyone, I'm Christina Mueller, and this is a summary of my research on the effects of ICPS on challenging classroom behaviors. Since we'll be talking a lot about social-emotional learning, I wanted to quickly explain what it actually was. There are many different programs to use, but all teach social core competencies. ICPS teaches these competencies through role-playing and situational challenges to enforce appropriate emotional management and how to handle interpersonal conflict. The goal of my research was to determine if there was an observable and measurable impact on the frequency and intensity of challenging behaviors and emotional outbursts, specifically for children who had been removed from their classroom setting. I was also hoping to examine how easily ICPS was able to generalize to settings outside of where it was learned, such as at home or in the community. It was my hope that learning these skills would be impactful and seen in settings outside of the behavioral program after only 6 weeks of intervention. Research on SEL shows that it positively impacts academic achievement, classroom engagement, and classroom climate. Research also shows a positive impact for students with learning disabilities. Students with learning disabilities are known to have difficulty with recognizing and regulating emotions. SEL has shown to help with these difficulties and improve feelings of social isolation due to maladaptive behaviors linked with social emotional deficits. Additionally, research shows that when social competencies are improved, students show more self-confidence, positive peer relationships, and positive attitudes towards learning. Research specifically on ICPS shows positive impact on challenging classroom behaviors. The program includes 83 structured and scripted lessons with the goal of identifying causes and characteristics of emotions and improving problem-solving thought processes. Gaps in the literature were found in the types of students used for previous studies. Most studies included typically developing students in regular education classrooms. This study included 10 students enrolled in a behavioral program after removal from their classroom setting. Most students are removed due to high risk or impulsive behaviors and poor peer interactions. Parent participation was also involved due to parent surveys issued at the end of the 6-week intervention. The first measure was the Strengths and Difficulties Questionnaire. This measure was used on a weekly basis during the study. The SDQ measures and assesses normalcy of psychological attributes. Scores can be translated into categories of abnormal, borderline, or normal dependent upon the score recorded by the assessor. The second measure for the study included 2 separate surveys issued after the ICPS intervention. Both surveys assessed for opinion of the program and behavioral improvement following ICPS intervention. The parent survey detailed any use of ICPS dialogue at home or in the community, and the student survey assessed for understanding of ICPS dialogue. The study procedure began with informing parents of the study over the phone. Next, consent sheets were sent home for parents, and the study was also explained to the children to assent for participation. Over the 6 weeks, students took part in 30 ICPS lessons, with the SDQ being completed at the end of each week. Confidentiality was maintained through numbering students and organizing data based on the student's given number. At the end of the study, surveys were issued to parents and students. Quantitative data collected in this study was analyzed using one-tailed t-tests. Individual and group scores were analyzed by comparing week 1 data to week 6 data to examine change over the 6 weeks. Qualitative data was analyzed through open coding and axial coding. Once themes were found, parents were contacted to ask for their opinion on the emerging themes to evaluate for trustworthiness. Results of the quantitative data show that only 1 student showed significant change following the ICPS intervention. This leaves 8 students with no significant change and 1 student with no change at all in SDQ scores at the end of the 6 weeks. Group SDQ score showed significant change, with the number of students registering as normal significantly increasing between week 1 and week 6. Results of the parent survey showed that parents believed their children to be more communicative of their feelings, less easily frustrated, more honest, better at following directions, and more. The rating of observable improvement in behavior was averaged at 8.5. Parents also reported generalization had occurred to their home and community through the use of feeling words and comparative phrases. Results of the student survey showed that 90% of students believed their behavior had improved. The students' rating of behavioral improvement averaged at 7.9, and 60% reported using ICPS dialogue all the time, through the use of comparative phrases and various descriptive feeling words. Conclusions drawn from the results support that challenging classroom behaviors and emotional outbursts can be improved following exposure to social-emotional learning programs like ICPS. This can be seen through significant group change in behavior and emotional management like and the student's ability to generalize learned social-emotional skills to settings outside of the behavioral program where they were learned and practiced. Selection bias and history of the participants are limitations and threats to the validity of the study. In order to be in the program, students had to fit a criteria, which most often includes previous or current trauma. The previous or current trauma could have affected how easily or how much of the ICPS curriculum was received by the student. Another limitation includes the students in the study only receiving 30 of the 83 ICPS lessons included in ICPS curriculum. Additionally, the scoring system of the SDQ can be seen as a weakness. A limited amount of question and a limited amount or narrow range of scores could have had an impact on the amount of students who showed significant change after implementing a t-test on the students' scores. Future research would benefit from extending the research to the classroom after the student completes the behavioral program. This would enable the researcher to come to a definitive conclusion on ICPS's ability to generalize to other settings after the student has finished learning ICPS curriculum. Additionally, research would benefit from lengthening the research to include all 83 ICPS lessons of the curriculum. This would allow researchers to examine the effects that a full round of ICPS lessons can have on challenging classroom behavior and emotional management. Thank you for listening to this summary of my research. Feel free to leave any questions or comments below.